episode 3 of the Dodger Dan podcast. And I promised I wasn't going to come back to this, but the arrogance of Dodger fans, I think, is getting a little bit out of control. We're talking about Juan Soto again because he is currently not signed, but it's out of control. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a couple other topics for Monday, November 11th, 2024. Again, it is Veterans Day, so I did want to take a moment to shout out all the veterans. People going to the military is a big life decision. Back in the day, they didn't really have a choice with the draft and all that, but nowadays, anyone that commits any amount of time of their life to serve for our country, I think deserves a lot of kudos, a lot of appreciation, a lot of gratefulness. Like I mentioned in my TikTok video, my uncle did serve in the military, was a big component of my family, my father's family, being able to immigrate to the States. And so, shout out to my uncle. Shout out to everybody that serves, man, woman, whomever. Thank you for your service to our country. So over the weekend, there was not too much news that came out as far as significantly changing the outlook of the Dodgers or any other team for that matter. A couple of things that did come out. Teoscar Hernandez continues to be highly sought after amongst many other teams. It is possible that he is not necessarily on other teams' radars, but teams are leveraging the Dodgers' very apparent interest in re-signing him to maybe drive up the price. We got Roki Sasaki news. First, it was like maybe guarantee he's not coming. Today, it came out that Dallas Keuchel gave an interview and said he is definitely coming. It's locked up. Right now, there's going to be a lot of noise in either direction. I think every team thinks that they have a chance. I think realistically, you're probably looking at the same players, the New York teams, LA, San Diego. Some people have mentioned Seattle. The news that came out about Roki was that he's looking for a smaller market team with a good development plan that's going to help him improve as well as win. I think the winning component is really big, and maybe this goes to Sasaki's confidence in how much he's able to impact that on an organizational level. If he wants to win, I think the Dodgers are the team. Clearly, we are set up to win for the next few years. He would slot really well into our rotation, especially with the fact that we already have two very prominent, very popular Japanese players in Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He would continue in that line, in that legacy. But you never want to discount an athlete's desire to prove his worth or kind of pave his own path, which is why I think people suspect that he might go elsewhere. Dallas Keuchel's statement on that, I just don't put too much credence into, only because he also says that they haven't really explicitly had a conversation about it. At least recently, they may have talked about it before, just throwing it around like Dodgers is an option. He has interest, but right now, it's a big cat and mouse game, and we don't know what's going to happen with that. But my expectation is that he still will sign with the Dodgers. I think where we are right now as a team, we have a very unique opportunity with Shohei Ohtani's deferred contract to be able to load up really heavily on some really amazing talent, and Roki Sasaki would fit perfectly in, and he just feels like a Dodger. So again, the situation is pretty fluid. I would say you're going to hear a lot of stuff over the next couple of weeks, or actually over the next few days or so, because I do think that this signing would wrap up relatively quickly. So we'll keep our eyes on that. I think Dodger fans, we have a lot of desires for some of these free agents. We're talking about Roki, Fried, Snell, Crochet, Soto. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, Dodger fans, let's just be patient. Let's let this process play out, and we will figure it out when it gets here. The second topic I want to talk about, and I guess I did kind of promise you all I wouldn't talk about this again, but the fact that Juan Soto is still not signed and that the Dodgers have interest, I have to talk about it because he is the big name on the market right now. And like I said in the beginning of this episode, I think Dodger fans are, in my opinion, a little, what's the right way to say this? I think we are having a little sense of maybe it's a superiority complex. Maybe we're lacking a little bit of humility, but a lot of the personal attacks I've seen against Juan Soto, I just feel like is very unfair, and it's coming from a place, although well-intentioned, I just don't think has a lot of merit to Juan Soto. His affiliation or association with San Diego, again, he was traded there. And I want a player when he's with the team that he's with to ride or die for his teammates. And so maybe Dodger fans remember particular interactions with him when he was at the Padres that they disliked, and it's heightened because it is the Padres and we have had a particular rivalry with them over the past few seasons. But other than that, I just really feel like it is not a fair characterization of Juan Soto's character when the Nationals were playing the Dodgers. When Max Scherzer and Trey Turner with the Dodgers, I remember Juan Soto came out to watch them in a playoff game, just bought a ticket to watch and support his friends and teammates. And I don't know how you discount that as being a good teammate, a good locker room guy, a good presence on a team. They won a World Series together. Like when he was young, he won a World Series. He got one early. Judge can't say that. Shohei up until this season couldn't say that. There are a lot of great players in Major League Baseball that have not won a World Series. And he didn't just win because he was on the team. He was a huge component to being the Astros. And I know this is going to be a little blasphemous anytime I try to bring up this guy's name just because he is so good. But I'm looking at the first 7 seasons of Juan Soto's career and Barry Bonds' career. And you all are effectively saying that you don't want to grab a Barry Bonds level hitter because you don't like his attitude or you think he's a little selfish, a little XYZ thing that, again, is not really proven. You're just basing it off of the Soto shuffle and his affiliation with the Padres. But let me just give you some numbers. So what you're seeing here, these stats are the first 7 seasons of Juan Soto, first 7 seasons of Barry Bonds. And you can always put in qualifiers to try to discount these numbers, but let me just give you the numbers as they are. The WAR, the first 7 seasons, Barry Bonds was at a 50.3. Juan Soto is at 36.4. Barry Bonds also entered the league when he was 21, whereas Juan Soto was at 19. So I think there is a little bit of I don't know how much of a discount there to Barry Bonds' numbers relative to Juan Soto, but some amount. Games played, Barry Bonds had way more, like 936 to 110, so about 74 more games. Plate appearances had about 167 more plate appearances, 425.5 to 40.88. He had 50 more hits in 167 plate appearances. So 50 more hits. Here we go. Juan Soto has had 201 home runs to Barry Bonds' 176. So he's on a better track than the king of the home run, Barry Bonds. He has more than that. He has 592 RBIs to 556 RBIs for Barry Bonds. So more home runs, more RBIs. Barry Bonds had 251 stolen bases, which is absolutely absurd. Juan Soto, not a runner, 57 stolen bases. And then the rest of the numbers, I'm going to tell you right now, it's all Juan Soto. Batting average, Juan Soto 285, Barry Bonds 275. On base percentage, Juan Soto 42%, Barry Bonds 38%. Slugging, Juan Soto 532, Barry Bonds 503. OPS, Juan Soto 953, Barry Bonds 883. OPS plus 160. OPS plus for Barry Bonds was 147. Juan Soto again already has a championship. He's been to 4 All-Star games to Barry Bonds' 2. Barry Bonds has 2 MVPs to Juan Soto's 0. Juan Soto has won a batting title. Barry Bonds did not have a batting title through the season. Gold Gloves, Barry Bonds had 3 up to this point. Juan Soto does not have any. And then Silver Slugger Awards, Juan Soto's had 4. Barry Bonds has had 3. So when people say they don't want Juan Soto, they're essentially saying that they do not want a generational offensive talent, almost the likes of Barry Bonds, in some areas a little bit better. Because 1, they think his defense is bad, and 2, they think he is a locker room cancer. And this is where I want to challenge Dodgers fans. I do think there's a level of hubris to say that we don't need Juan Soto. You don't necessarily always get free agents because you need them. Because I would ask all of you, what is our biggest need? A lot of you might say shortstop. Our president of baseball operations, Andrew Friedman, has said that he does not necessarily think that shortstop is the biggest need for us. Now, is that a negotiating tactic for Willy Adames and trying to drive down the price. Who knows? But I also agree with that. I don't necessarily know if shortstop is our biggest need. If you had to define one, I would say it's up there, but it's not flat and out the biggest need, because we do have options there. We have Tommy Edman, we got Rojas, who that combination was good enough for us to win the World Series. You might say maybe a starting pitcher. We have a bunch coming back from injury, and although we don't ideally want to do what we did last year, we could manufacture our way through a season and a postseason without an all-star starting pitcher. So when you say the Dodgers don't need Juan Soto, I, again, understand what you are saying, but my question to you is, even if we don't need Juan Soto, if you think we don't need Juan Soto, why not get a generationally impactful offensive talent if he's available? Why not? Because the team that wins is the team that scores more runs. And Juan Soto gets on base, which you need to do. And it's not just on base. He hits home runs. He hits for power. He had a down year in average. Obviously not like the best, but in baseball nowadays, no one necessarily is hitting 300. You know what I mean? And I think Dodger fans are severely discounting how good of an offensive talent that Juan Soto is. And I do understand that part of this is because it feels like we have to choose between Teoscar and Juan Soto. But I'm sorry, a 26-year-old in his prime, putting up Barry Bonds level numbers, is not someone that you just say, oh, we don't need him, let's not sign him. I think that is a very foolish perspective to have, and that the Dodgers hopefully are not sharing that same sentiment that the fans are, because the job of the front office is to field the best team possible, and you cannot convince me that we are not a better team with the services of Juan Soto than we are without him. Now, sports fandom of anything in general, is a very emotional endeavor. So I'm not blind to the fact that Juan Soto may not necessarily fit the ideal personality that many Dodger fans seem to not want on the team. But I would challenge that as well. I don't think it's necessarily best if the team has everybody that's super congenial and doesn't speak up or doesn't have character or personality. I've said this in many videos, but if you think that Juan Soto singularly is going to be able to break the culture of the Dodgers, I don't think you really understand how good of a manager Dave Roberts is. I don't think you understand how good of a leader, even without speaking English, Shohei Ohtani, and then in speaking English, Mookie Betts, Clayton Kershaw, Freddie Freeman are. I honestly think you don't really give enough credence to that, because Juan Soto is not such a problem that these guys wouldn't be able to help nurture and grow him both as a man and as a player. And I promise y'all, when Juan Soto in opening day is in a Dodger uniform and hits a home run, all of you will forget all of this, because at the end of the day, it is a results-driven business, and Juan Soto gets results. So I hate to push back so forcefully on so many of you, but I think the thing that I'm particularly vehemently pushing back against is this idea that we don't need Juan Soto. That's not what a front office always should focus on. If a talent like Juan Soto is available, you will figure out how to place him in the lineup and on the field to make it work. Defensively, I've said this stat as many times as well, Teoscar Hernandez was worse defensively than Juan Soto was. So however bad you think Teoscar is, or however bad you think Juan Soto is, Teoscar was worse defensively. And then you go into, well, but for the money, Teoscar's slight minus in the outfield makes it worth it. Again, and I think that's where you know that you don't really understand how good Juan Soto is offensively. Because if we are going to kind of brush past Teo's bad defense, then we can't brush past, or I guess if you're going to brush past Teo's bad defense, then you're not creating a genuine argument based on their abilities and skills. Because what Juan Soto has showed is that even in an average season, he's better than Teoscar Hernandez offensively by a significant margin. Like, it's not particularly close. You factor in the age, you factor in where this Dodgers team is in this particular point in history. We have a chance to go on a rampage run through Major League Baseball that we haven't seen since the late 90s, early 2000s New York Yankees. And we are the evil empire. I think people also need to recognize that we are not like the goody two shoes, good guys of the league. People hate us, and for good reason. We are a very scary specter of a team that other teams just don't have the right resources or the talent or the farm system to be able to compete with us at that level. Now, people might argue, oh, but you should be like dominating, winning 130 games. Baseball is just not a sport that facilitates for that. Even the best players of all time, look at Barry Bonds, lifetime batting average under 300. So obviously you're not going to say like he's a bad hitter because it's there. It's just the way baseball is played, you're not going to have a great game every single time. So in that variance, people are going to be able to beat us. But I think with baseball, what you're trying to do is set up for yourselves the best opportunity to win every game. And I find that to be loading the deck as much as possible with as many weapons as possible. And that's what Juan Soto would do. So I know this video and this segment is going to be poorly received by Dodger fans again. But again, as a Dodger fan, if you're just abject rejecting the opportunity to bring over a Barry Bonds level hitter, then I just don't think you really understand baseball that well, or you are just putting your head in the sand and being committed to this anti-Juan Soto take because of everything you've seen about him, and at this point are assuming about him as a person that I think is unfair, and I don't think sets us up as a fan base to think really forward looking as far as team building and being able to sustain this excellence, not just to win division titles, but to win World Series for a long period of time. So I'll continue to talk about Juan Soto. I know you guys hate it. I know you guys are sick of it, but reality is Juan Soto he is the big fish, and we want to catch that fish for sure. Last thing I'll talk about today is any updates on the players that you all know and love already. I think ultimately we're not going to have resolution on these guys until they get past the signing of Juan Soto and some of the top name pitchers that are available in free agency. Right now, it makes no sense for the Dodgers to reduce their resource chest by signing some of these other players. I think right now we want to maintain as much flexibility as possible and really figure out what are our available options when given that opportunity. Are we going to give Juan Soto a compromising player-friendly deal that lets him opt out but doesn't give him the total value that maybe he's seeking after, which I think could make sense? Are Kiki Hernandez, Teoscar Hernandez, Jack Flaherty, Walker Buehler, are they going to take discounts to stay with the Dodgers and try to go for a run through Major League Baseball for the next few years, or are they going to look out for their best self-interest and sign for more money, which, I think that's very smart. Like, ultimately, these guys, their shelf lives are very short. They need to maximize their earning potential as much as possible, and there's just no guarantee for tomorrow. You know, with Walker Buehler, 2 Tommy John surgeries, that's a lot. And if his velocity dips any more than it already has, or he just can't find it, his career will be over very quickly. So I think for Walker Buehler, get your money. Jack Flaherty, get your money. Kiki Hernandez, get your money. I know they all want to be a Dodger, and I love that about them. But I also hope that they look after their own self-interest as well and sign for as much money as possible. So that's the episode for today. Episode 3 of Dodger Dan has become another defense of Juan Soto. But again, until he signs, I just really think that's something that the Dodger fans have to understand is something that the team is looking to do, that the team is going to try and facilitate for. And I don't think we should be upset about it. I do think we should support the pursuit of that, because I think right now we're not even seeing how great it's going to be for the Dodgers. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm actually going to put this up on Spotify just to test it out, see how many downloads I get. Again, a lot of this is experimental at this point. I will continue to flesh this out and make it a little bit more professional like the ones you guys hear, but we're in the bootstrapping phase. I'm just trying things out. I really appreciate you guys riding with me, and one day, a year from now, maybe when we really got our engines running, you guys will know you were early on. So thanks again for watching, for subscribing. Please, YouTube, now I guess Spotify, TikTok, keep supporting. I will try to keep on continuing to push out good content for y'all. I appreciate y'all. Have a good one. Peace out. Let's go Dodgers.